Hey you guys, it's me again. Welcome back to Cocktails in Real Estate. This is the second episode. I am Jasmine Alston. I am a licensed realtor in both North Carolina and DC. And if you are interested in purchasing in other areas that are outside of the Washington, DC and North Carolina area, feel free to reach out to me. I have a ton of partners that are licensed in other states as well as internationally that would be able to assist you. So today's episode of Cocktail in Real Estate is sponsored by my attempt at making an old-fashioned, okay? Don't judge. This is my first time making an old-fashioned. I tried, okay? I thought my mom had some sugar cubes. Nope, did not. I thought that, I made it work, okay? I did the best that I could.
I'll do the best I can, but when I got,
So today we are going to be talking about the steps to purchase a home. So what are the basic steps of purchasing a home? Okay, so this is most likely going to be towards my first-time home buyers, or even if you have purchased a home before, but it's been years and years ago, things change. And so I'm going to break down what exactly it is that you need to know to purchase a home. And then I'm going to let you know the differences between both states in North Carolina as well as DC. Let's get to it. Okay, I'm gonna be for real. I will not be able to drink that whole off. Woo, man. Let's get to it. So the basic steps to purchase a home, it always starts with what we call a consultation, right? So that is your opportunity to interview the professionals that's going to be on your team to guide you and help you get to the closing table and get your keys to purchase a home. And so the people that are going to be on your team, of course, is your realtor, hopefully me. But it's going to be your realtor, it's going to be your lender, and then also your closing attorney. A lot of people do not think about picking a closing attorney, right? We'll talk about that. So, your consultation, speak to a realtor first, right? Like if you don't already have a preferred realtor or lender or whatever, start with the realtor. Just start simple. Speak with realtors, ask them, hey, what are your hours? Because having a realtor that works around your schedule and what works for your family is going to be best, right? Let's say there's a realtor who doesn't really do showings and things on the weekend, but you work a lot during the week, and the only time that you can actually tour is on the weekend. Well, you need a realtor who's able to tour on the weekend. And so, or let's say if you're more so like, let's say you work night shift and you need a realtor that can tour with you first thing in the morning. You want to make sure that their schedule aligned and that they have the resources that you need and that works best for you. Okay, so let's talk about your lender. So when you are speaking to a lender, you kind of want to keep the same thing in mind. Like, what resources do they have? What are their hours of operation? Like, are they going to be available on the weekends? Because let me tell you, after 5 years in real estate, one thing that I know is that things always happen on the weekend or after business hours. So having a lender that can reach out to you or answer questions or, kind of fix things if needed on the weekends and sometimes after hours could be very important to you. Also, knowing the resources that they have, like if you're a buyer who may need some assistance with like down payment or closing costs, does this lender have funds or do they participate in different programs that have funds? That's really important to know. Or like, let's say if you're purchasing a home that considers a jumbo loan, can they accommodate that jumbo loan? Do they understand jumbo loans? Or let's say if you're a veteran and you want to use the VA loan, has this lender does VA loans before? Do they understand the process and the benefits of VA loans? That's really important. So you want to ask those questions when you're interviewing your lender, and don't just go with the first lender that you speak with. Make sure that you fully understand their processes and make sure that it works for you. Same with your realtor. And then closing attorneys. So a lot of people don't even consider closing attorneys, right? When you are wanting to speak to your closing attorney, or when you're interviewing your closing attorney, get an understanding of how do they operate. Are they electronic? Like, do they use electronics? There's some closing attorneys that still use a lot of paper and, like, snail mail or whatever. How does that work for you? Do you trust that? Where is their office located? Where would closing be located? Do they accommodate certain things such as wiring or whatever? Surprisingly, some closing attorneys do not allow you to wire your closing funds. And so you want to know those things. Like, do you have the capabilities of dealing with that? Or are you okay with some of those accommodations you may have to make with certain closing attorneys? Also, look at their reviews. Get to know their process and what it is that they're doing for you. Because a closing attorney, the most important job is to make sure that your title is marketable and that you can get to that closing table without having issues after closing. And so, what is their reputation? Have they done a good job? Is that something that they're skilled and knowledgeable in? Right? There's some amazing closing attorneys out there. So you want to make sure that you understand that part. So that is part 1 of purchasing a home. Doing your consultations, doing your interviews, and picking the right team. All right, so step 2, getting pre-qualified. Once you pick the lender that you want to work with, let's get you pre-qualified. They're going to have you complete a application. They're going to ask you to send in some documentation like pay stubs. They're going to have you run your credit, or they're going to run your credit for you. So, you're going to provide them with like your social, and they may ask for like W-2s and tax returns and things like that. They're going to gather all of that information to check to see what does your credit history look like, what does your income look like, what does your debt look like, to see if you can qualify for a mortgage loan. They're going to check to see what kind of mortgage loan you can qualify for. And then also they're going to check to see how much you can qualify for, right? The amount. And once you get pre-qualified, they're going to give you an amount to say, hey, you've been pre-qualified. You can purchase a home with up to a maximum amount of, let's say, $700,000. You're pre-qualified for $700,000. Now, does that mean you should spend the entire $700,000? Probably not. A lot of people should not spend up to the max of their budget, right? You want to give some wiggle room there just in case there's other things that come up throughout the process. But that is your pre-qualification. So the second step to purchasing a home is getting pre-qualified. That means that you're going to give the lender your information, do the application, and they're going to tell you yes or not right now. And I say not right now because there's not a no to purchasing a home. There's only a not right now. Like, if your credit score isn't high enough, then they're going to give you what I like to call a mortgage ready plan. They'll give you that to break down what it is that you need to do to get that credit score up so you can get pre-qualified. Or let's say if your income isn't high enough. Okay, what you need to do. You got to do some things and make some changes, make some extra income. Or let's say if you don't have enough income, or not income, but enough money for like a closing cost or whatever, maybe you can get a gift. Maybe there's other options. Maybe there's programs and things. So there's never a no. It's just a not right now. Okay, step 3. Home search, right? You are pre-qualified. We have celebrated. We're excited. Now comes the fun part, right? Step 3, which is actually finding a home. And so that is when you talk with your realtor that you've chosen during step 1. That's when you talk with your realtor and you let them know, hey, here's my pre-approved or pre-qualified letter. Let's start looking. And then you go through a list of what are the things that you want in a home? What are the things that you need in a home? What are some deal breakers when you view a home? Let's say, like, if schools are really important. If you need to be in a specific school zone for your family, then homes outside of the school zone, it won't work. It doesn't make sense for your family, right? Or let's say if you need a home that is only 1 floor and you don't want steps because you're getting older and you don't really want to deal with steps, or you just, it may not accommodate you or your family to have stairs in the home. So, looking at a home that is like 3 stories, it doesn't make sense for you and your family. It's not going to work, right? And so you go through those things, you narrow down what you're looking for, and then your realtor is going to do a search to find homes that fit your criteria, fit the area and the neighborhood that you want to live in, fits where the school districts it is, or if you're like someone that likes to live in the city, closer to, like, let's say the metro or a specific metro, does these homes qualify for you? That is what your realtor is going to do. They're going to set up tours for you. You're going to go out, you're going to look at those homes, and you're going to decide, can I see myself living here? Can I see my family living here? Can I see us growing here? Like, does this fit? And if it does, you're going to move to step 4. All right, so step 4, you have made it to the most important part, right, of the process, and that's writing an offer. So making an offer on a home, there are some things that you want to consider, right? Once you found that home that you love and you feel like, okay, this is going to work for my family, this is the one, you're going to decide, hey, I want to write an offer. This is where it kind of differs between DC and North Carolina. There are some things that you want to consider. I'll start with North Carolina. So in North Carolina, we have what's called a due diligence period, right? So when writing an offer, the things that you're going to consider is how much you're going to offer. So if the home is on the market for, let's say, $500,000, and you have ran the comps with your realtor, well, actually your realtor runs the comps, and they let you know, hey, here's what this home is based off of the other homes in the area, based off of what the seller has renovated. Here's what a good price would be. Let's say $495 to $515 would be a good price. You're going to decide, okay, based off of my pre-approval, how much can I afford? Based off of the monthly amount of the mortgage, the potential mortgage for this, how much can I afford and what fits with those comps? So we'll decide on the offer price. You're going to decide on what's called a earnest money deposit. An earnest money deposit is a deposit to let the sellers know you're serious about purchasing this home. This is something that is in both North Carolina and DC. And then you are going to determine your due diligence fee. Now, this is only North Carolina. Trust me, I know it sounds crazy. Stick with me, just hear me out. So your due diligence period and fee is a fee that you pay directly to the sellers to say, hey, I'm serious. I want this home. Here's what I'm willing to pay you to take your home off of the market so that I can do my due diligence and double check and confirm that I want to buy the home. And so your earnest money deposit is something that actually goes to your closing attorney. You actually give that to the closing attorney, not the sellers. And then the due diligence fee goes to the sellers. And so you'll determine that fee. And then you're going to write down on the offer who your closing attorney is and then the closing date. And then also there are things called contingencies, and that's the next step. So you've written your offer, you figured out the money part of it, and then we're going to go over to step 5. All right, so step 5. You have written the offer, you figured out the money part of your offer. Now it's time to determine the contingencies. So there are different contingencies that you need to consider. One thing that in both places, you or anywhere, you want to be very much aware of is your financial contingency. Depending on the type of loan you have, there are different types of contingencies that align with it. So you want to be aware of your financial contingency. That's something your realtor and your lender can explain to you in more depth. And then also there are other contingencies like home inspection. How long is your home inspection and contingency going to be? And I'm sorry, let me back up. So contingencies are scheduled and it's something that has been agreed upon on the offer, right? So now let me get back to it. So like your home inspection contingency, this is the time that you have set aside. Like let's say in North Carolina, you decide that you want a 21-day due diligence period. During that time is when you're going to do your home inspection. You're going to have your lender order the appraisal. You're going to double check to make sure you want to purchase the home, because during that period is when you decide if you're going to back out or not. Okay? The contingency saves the buyer from really deciding if they want to buy and allowing them to kind of back out of the deal if they decide to change their mind. All right. So once you figured out your contingencies, let's go to the next step. All right, so the next step is the appraisal and title search. So your offer has been accepted, contingencies have been agreed upon, and now it is time for the appraisal and the title search. So the appraisal is ordered by your lender. You don't really have to do anything. You don't have to show up to the home for it. The appraiser comes out to the home and then they send it to you as the buyer. The seller only receives it if it does not appraise. Okay, and so here's some things that you should be aware of when you're getting the appraisal. When you're getting the appraisal, you have some options. Let's say that it appraises at the offer price that you've given. So let's say you offered $500,000 it appraises at $500,000, good to go, right? Don't have to worry about anything. But let's say it appraises at $400,000 and you offered $500,000. Here's some things that you have to consider. So you would need to consider if you're going to pay the difference between that $400,000 and $500,000, or you can negotiate with the seller to say, hey, are you willing to drop down to the $400,000 to match the appraisal, or meet me halfway, or whatever. Or you can decide to walk away because it did not appraise, right? And then title search. The title search is something that the title attorney does, closing attorney. That's something that they will do. They will gather all of the documents for the home. They will actually run a title search to make sure that it is a clean and marketable title and that there are no issues. If there are issues that come up with the title, the closing attorney will let you know, and then they will give you steps to remediate that. And you'll decide if you want to move forward or not. So that's the 6th step. Let's move over to step 7. Okay, step 7 is your closing disclosures. So your closing disclosures is documents that you will receive from your lender. Now, it is required for lenders to send this to you 3 days before closing. This allows you to know the amount that you potentially need to bring for closing. Keep in mind, it is an estimate, but it's a pretty close estimate, okay? So it's going to let you know the amount that you need to bring to closing. It's going to give you the mortgage amount, your taxes. If you have like an HOA, it's going to have all of that information, all of the fees and things that have occurred during the process of purchasing your home. It's going to be on these closing disclosures. You want to make sure that you review each and every line item in these closing disclosures. Make sure there are things that have been agreed upon. Let's say if your lender is giving you a credit, you want to make sure it's listed up there. Or let's say if you already paid something or something was waived for you, you want to make sure that it's not listed there. So look at your closing disclosures fully and thoroughly, and that is step 7. All right, so step 8, we are close to closing, right? But before you get to closing, there's one more thing you have to do, and that is called the final walkthrough. You want to do a final walkthrough. You want to make sure that the home is ready for you to move in or ready for closing. And what that means is, let's say like if you're purchasing a home to actually live in, and the home had like a stove and the home had a tub or whatever, you want to make sure that it is what they call broom sweep clean or whatever. So, not like junky and stuff. You walk through the home to make sure like the sellers didn't completely trash the place. Or I've seen, which is crazy, but I've seen in the past where the actual tub was removed, the actual stove was removed, certain things they cannot remove or whatever. So you want to make sure those things are intact and the home looks like the home that you actually wrote an offer on and that you agreed upon, okay? So that is your final walkthrough. And if there are things that are out of order or that are not right in the home when you're doing your final walkthrough, this is your chance to let the sellers know, hey, this is not what we agreed upon, and let's not close yet until this gets fixed or whatever. So you have options, and you don't want to close, because once you do close, you're agreeing that you're okay with how the home is. So that's step 8. So step 9, this is your final step, right? The final basic step to purchasing a home. You have made it. You have done all of the research. You have written the offer, won the offer, done your final walkthrough, negotiated with the sellers, and now it is time to celebrate. You know why? It's closing day. It is time to close. It's time to turn up. It's time to celebrate, get your keys, and have a grandiose time, okay? So on closing day, here's some things you want to be aware of. You want to make sure that you bring your license, for one, okay? You have to have your license. Please don't forget it. Don't lose it. Bring your ID to the closing table. It's going to be needed. And then also, you want to bring your closing funds. And so now, let me backtrack. With the closing funds, some closing attorneys require you to wire them, right? So Before closing day, you want to call your bank, confirm how long does a wire take. If they say 3 days, you want to make sure you wire those funds for closing at least 3 days before so that the funds are there. If you have funds that is maybe not that much, like let's say $500 for closing, just bring not cash, but bring a certified bank check with your $500 or whatever your closing cost is to the closing table to give the closing attorney. And even in some cases, you may receive money back at the closing table. But that is all. That's it. You're going to sit there with the closing attorney. They're going to go through a bunch of documents for you to sign. They're going to explain each and every document before signing. If you have questions, or if it's something you don't understand, don't hesitate to ask. Always ask. If you don't feel comfortable, ask. Or if you don't want to ask, tell your realtor. Your realtor is there to advocate for you and will ask for you and help the title attorney explain things. But that is what the attorney is there for. The attorney is there to explain these things and to help you through the process to make sure that you are signing documents that you understand. And once you're finished signing, it is time to open up the champagne or sparkling water, whatever is your favorite, and celebrate because you did it. You finally got to the closing table. Doesn't it feel good? I know, right? So that's the 9 steps to purchasing your home, or the 9 basic steps to purchasing your home. Again, thank you for joining me. I am Jasmine Austin. I am licensed in North Carolina as well as DC. But as always, if you're interested in purchasing a home, or selling or investing in other areas outside of those 2 places, let me know. I have a ton of partners who are licensed there and are amazing, and I would love to refer you. See you next time on Cocktails and Real Estate.